Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Tuesday, May 6th, 2025, and these are your Unbiased Updates. Nearly 1 year later, more campus unrest, this time in the Pacific Northwest. Demonstrators lighting fires and protesting in favor of Palestine, plus the major corporation they are calling out and why. And financial incentive, Homeland Security's new push to get undocumented immigrants to leave the United States, and the reward if they do.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
Breaking news this morning, riot police arrested several people after a group of pro-Palestinian protesters occupied a building at the University of Washington in Seattle overnight. They are protesting the war in Gaza. The demonstrators took over the Interdisciplinary Engineering Building, renaming it the Shaban al-Dalu Building, in opposition to the university's ties to Boeing. A group called Students United for Palestinian Equality Return, also known as Super UW, claimed it was behind the takeover. They also blocked off streets and set fires to dumpsters. Super UW claims Boeing spent $10 million on the new engineering building and allege some of it is connected to the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip due to Boeing's defense contracts with the military. That's according to a Seattle news station. Boeing is one of the largest defense companies in the United States. It has a long history with the University of Washington. The protest comes as a Hamas spokesperson says there is no sense in engaging in truce talks with Israel right now after Israeli officials approved a plan to take over the entirety of the Gaza Strip and stay there for an unspecified amount of time. And as Israel continues to block food and humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. Israel's new plan also calls for displacing most of Gaza's residents. Palestinian authorities are reporting nearly a dozen people have been killed in Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip this morning. Israel's renewed bombardment of the territory comes after a ceasefire deal with Hamas collapsed in March. Now, more than 70% of Gaza is reportedly under Israeli control or covered by orders issued by Israel, telling Palestinian civilians to evacuate specific neighborhoods. Israel says it's launching this new forceful operation to destroy Hamas and rescue its remaining hostages. Over the weekend, Hamas praised the Houthi rebels as, quote, the twin of Palestine, after Houthis fired a missile from Yemen that landed close to Israel's Ben Gurion airport near Tel Aviv, forcing the airport to shut down. Hamas is still believed to be holding dozens of Israeli hostages seized during the terror group's sneak attack on Israel in October of 2023. Many of the hostages are believed to be dead. The Trump administration has launched a new program aimed at speeding up deportation of undocumented immigrants. Straight Arrow News reporter Lauren Keenan explains an incentive that Homeland Security is implementing in hopes of saving taxpayers' money by having potentially fewer raids and roundups.
The federal government says it will pay people who are living in the country illegally a $1,000 stipend if they self-deport and return to their home countries. The agency will pay for the commercial flights for those who self-deport, DHS confirmed to Fox News. The Department of Homeland Security announced Monday what it's calling an historic opportunity to give undocumented migrants both financial and travel assistance to facilitate travel back to their home country through the CBP Home app. People in the country illegally can use the CBP Home app to self-deport, and once they've confirmed they're out of the country, the U.S. government says it will give them $1,000 after their return is confirmed through the app. If you are here illegally, self-deportation is the best, safest, and most cost-effective way to leave the United States to avoid arrest. DHS is now offering illegal aliens financial travel assistance and a stipend to return to their home country through the CBP Home app, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said in a statement. According to DHS, one person who self-deported from Chicago back to Honduras has taken up the government on its offer and already received the travel assistance stipend. DHS says this new program is the safest for law enforcement and estimates it'll be a 70% savings for U.S. taxpayers. Those that self-deport will also have a chance to re-enter the country legally in the future. On average, DHS says it costs more than $17,000 to arrest, detain, and remove one person in the country illegally. Last week, the Trump administration announced it has deported 140,000 migrants since President Trump took office in January.
That was our Lauren Keenan reporting. The Trump administration also said those who sign up for self-deportation using the CBP Home app will be deprioritized for arrest and detention by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, quote, as long as they demonstrate they are making meaningful strides in completing that departure. The Trump administration is asking a judge to toss out a lawsuit from 3 Republican-led states looking to cut off telehealth access to the abortion medication mifepristone. Justice Department lawyers wrote in a filing with the U.S. District Court in Amarillo, Texas, that the 3 states behind the lawsuit, Missouri, Idaho, and Kansas, should not be able to do so in that court. The administration's move backing a request initially made by the Biden administration last year. Government lawyers say nothing is stopping the states from filing the lawsuit someplace else, but they say the venue must have some connection to the claims being made. The lawsuit from Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri argues the Food and Drug Administration should roll back access to mifepristone. They filed their complaint after the Supreme Court preserved access to mifepristone last year. They want the FDA to prohibit telehealth prescriptions for mifepristone, require 3 in-office visits before it can be prescribed, and restrict the point in pregnancy when it can be used. In an effort he says will rid the military of unnecessary bureaucratic layers, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered military brass to cut 20% of its 4-star generals that the administration believes will lead to greater efficiency. Hegseth also instructed the National Guard to slash 1/5 of its top positions. The Defense Secretary has also instructed the military to cut 10% of its general and flag officers. The Military Times reports there are 800 generals in the U.S. 44 are either 4-star or flag officers. The Pentagon is under the same pressure that other departments are facing from government cuts being pushed by the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency. Last week, Hegseth ordered sweeping changes to the U.S. Army. In this case, he says the cuts will remove, quote, redundant force structure to optimize and streamline leadership. Finally this morning, the 2025 NFL Draft might have just ended, but already the league and football fans are looking ahead. Not to next year's draft, but 2027. Straight Arrow News sports reporter Chris Francis shows us how the 2027 draft will be the intersection of sports and politics.
Politics and sports don't often mix, but in the last week, that's exactly what's happened twice in our nation's capital. First came the announcement of a new stadium for the Washington Commanders, and Monday, in a joint press conference at the White House, President Trump announced the NFL Draft will be coming to the National Mall in 2027.
The draft is a celebration of one of our country's most cherished cultural institutions and the annual highlights for football fans everywhere. Everyone in the world is going to be watching.
He's not far off. The NFL Draft is big business. In late April, the NFL held the 2025 event in Green Bay, Wisconsin. According to the league, TV ratings were the second highest on record, and there were 600,000 fans on site, which tripled Green Bay's population. Detroit holds the attendance record of 750,000 people in 2024. But Commanders owner Josh Harris expects to break that record with the nation's capital as the background.
To host the NFL Draft in 2027 on the Mall, I believe we'll get over 1 million people, and it's going to be an amazing day, and it'll showcase what Washington's all about, but it'll also showcase what our country's all about. Washington is the gateway city to our country.
The president has a history of sparring with the NFL. During his first term, he called on owners to fire players who were kneeling during the national anthem. Recently, he criticized the Commanders' name change and had some social media advice for teams that didn't draft Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. But Monday, Commissioner Roger Goodell thanked the president repeatedly for working on a trade agreement between the league and Canada, the new Commanders Stadium site, and the NFL Draft announcement.
We not only believe it's a great site, we believe it's consistent with what the president said, which is investing in our communities, investing specifically here in the nation's capital, one that I grew up here in Washington, D.C., and it's particularly important
Goodell, Josh Harris, and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser last week announced a $3.6 billion deal to replace crumbling RFK Stadium with a new 65,000-seat stadium complex, which, if approved by the D.C. City Council, would be open for the 2030 season. President Trump gave his approval to the deal Monday.
It's going to be an architect's dream, whoever the architect is chosen, and the owner. It's going to be something special. I think it's going to be great for the area. Going to be, it will be top of the line. I know these people very well, and they only know about top of the line.
The NFL Draft has been held in a different city each year since 2015, with great commercial success and fan approval. Next year's event will take place in Pittsburgh. Then, as they say, Washington, D.C. will be on the clock, ready to host 1 million football fans. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Chris Francis.
So you could say the teams will be inaugurating their draft picks instead of selecting them. I guess that works. Those are your unbiased updates for this Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrally. Have a great day.